This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now, here are your hosts, Tom Stevens and Mike Melby.
Welcome in Sunday Rewind. Tom Stevens here, Mike Melby there. We do it every week, unless we don't. Some weeks we take off, but we are here this week.
It's Easter.
That's right. It was Easter last week, so that was understandable. I did have people ask me why I wasn't on, or why we weren't on last week. I said it was Easter, and they go, "So,
Exactly.
get on the radio, do your job. Come on, man." Lots to talk about though today. Lance Harvell in the next 20 minutes. Nebraska baseball assistant coach. Nebraska just swept Northwestern. Scored 35 runs and hit 1 million home runs.
I think it was actually
weekend.
1,000,004 home runs.
1,000,004 home runs. Northwestern, let's be honest, they're terrible. But Nebraska offensively is very, very good. And so we'll talk a little Husker baseball with Lance Harvell within the next 20 or so. Lots of football talk today. I was lucky enough to attend the scrimmage this weekend, this Saturday. Got to go. And, man, they hit. I mean, just because you have the green jersey on quarterbacks doesn't seem to matter to Matt Rule.
Well, they were live. He said they were live.
Well, he put the green jersey on, suggesting they're not live. No, they were live. They hit them. So I was impressed with that. We'll talk a lot of Husker football, what I saw, what I observed, and of course the big topic I think this weekend: Nebraska basketball. Fred Hoiberg has done some work. Rink Mask excites me a lot. They get the big man, the transfer from Bradley. They also get Bryce Williams, a transfer from Charlotte. And now I think they can be a little picky. Although there's still some big fish out there, including Hunter Salas. McCollum, I'm really excited about as well. John Hughley.
He's off the board.
He's off the board for Nebraska. But I think that Nebraska can be really picky. And we'll talk a lot of Husker basketball. BC of Husker 24/7 will be here talking both hoops and football. Today is the anniversary of the Jack Hoffman 69-yard run in the spring game.
Yep.
10-year anniversary. I'll tell you what Jack is up to these days. Portal craziness, and maybe we'll hit the NBA playoffs, although it's not necessary. We probably will. We'll mention
I'll mention it.
I mean, what can they do to stop us, really? We should get to the starting gate. We do that at the top of every show. Kind of suggests how fast this show goes. We try to hit a bunch of topics in 2 hours. And to demonstrate, Mike Melby with the starting gate.
Getting more prevalent, too, since horse racing's back going live here in Nebraska, and the Derby's just a couple of weeks away.
Our anniversary is coming up, by the way.
Yeah.
Our 1-year anniversary.
May 22nd
Happy
was when
anniversary.
we did our first show, so exciting. Nebraska baseball sits at 21-11-1. They're 7-2 in the conference, lead the conference by percentage points, 0.778 to 0.750 over Indiana. They sweep Northwestern 8-3, 9-2, and 18-5 today. 7 home runs hit by Husker baseball today.
How many over the entire weekend were hit? I think it was past 10. It might have been 13. It was a lot of home runs this weekend.
It was. Jake, do you know how many home runs?
Total home runs this weekend for Nebraska? It was 7 today, which is
7 today.
The first time since
2004
that
they had hit 6 or more. And I don't know what the record is in the game. I had not seen that tweeted out, but they rolled today. Big week coming up. They host Creighton on Tuesday, and then they play at Iowa next weekend. The Hawkeyes are 25-9. They are 4-5 in the conference. And again, Nebraska baseball second. They're now leading the conference by percentage points. 7-2 are the Huskers. 9-3 is Indiana. So if you do the percentages, it's 7.78 to 7.50. But Huskers on a bit of a roll. We'll see if they can keep it going.
Creighton
on Tuesday, and then
I really want to beat Creighton.
Yeah,
I mean, you probably want to beat Iowa, especially
at least
since
win the series.
You want to win the series, but I think I almost want to beat Creighton more than I want to beat Iowa, if that's possible.
No, not in this instance. I if it's basketball, yeah, but at the same that with the conference shaping up the way it is,
I don't
want the Huskers to have the highest seed possible.
That's
in the
true.
NCAA, so
yeah, that's true. And Iowa's not great in baseball. I think they're okay.
They're 25-9. They're 4-5 in conference.
Yeah, that's what I mean. In conference play, they're a little farther down in the standings. Nebraska way ahead. But that can change in a hurry, especially over a weekend series. Yeah.
Exactly. Alante Brown is the only Husker that has officially entered the transfer portal that reopened in football as of midnight yesterday. I'll be honest, I expected to see anywhere between 3 and 10 guys in the portal already.
I did too.
I don't know what's going on.
They're going to have to be, right?
Well, they're 12 to 13 over the scholarship limit right now, depending on the numbers that you see from varying people.
Either get in the portal or you're going to there is that new rule for first-year coaches where you can put a guy kind of on an academic scholarship or whatever you want to call it. They retain their scholarship, but they're retired from football.
Yeah. So
I don't know how many guys you can do that, but you can do a lot.
Yeah. Congrats to the Nebraska bowling team. They finished their season third in the NCAA tournament. They lose 2-0 to Vanderbilt yesterday. This is the 11th time that Nebraska has finished the season, the bowling team, in the top 3 or better. By the way, they have 6 NCAA titles since the NCAA made bowling a varsity sport back in 2004, the most of any other school. And 11 times in now 20 tournaments that they have finished first, second, or third. That's insane. Congrats to the gang. And
what's your best bowling score of all time?
Best was a 274, I think.
That's really good.
Something like that.
Was it with or without beer?
Oh, there's beer involved.
Yeah.
I used to bowl a lot. And
it's the old pool thing where I think 2 or 3 beers help your bowling.
Oh, I guarantee it.
And then the diminishing returns thing.
Yeah. You got to pace yourself.
Yeah.
Nebraska men's gymnastics finished 5th in the NCAA championships this weekend. So big props to some spring sports doing really, really well. Speaking of spring sports doing well, Nebraska's softball sits at 30-13. They're 10-4 in the conference, second place behind Northwestern. They sweep Indiana. Indiana started off the Big Ten season 9-0. They're now 9-5. But the Huskers roll. They swept the doubleheader yesterday, and big things going on for the softball team. Nebraska basketball, as you mentioned, picked up actually 3 commitments this week. 2 of them are from the transfer portal. Last Wednesday, just hours apart, Rank Mast and Bryce Williams announced their respective commitments. And then on Friday, 2024 shooting guard Nick Janowski, who's ranked the number 80 overall player by 24/7 Sports, he announced his commitment to Fred Hoiberg and the team. In town this weekend are Siena Saints guard Javian McCollum, 6'2", 155-pound young man, averaged 16 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists a game, shot 43% from the field, 35 from 3, and 89% at the line. And top 100 2023 prospects, so a guy that can still come in and play this year, Brady Dunlap. He's a high school senior. He was committed to Mike Bray in Notre Dame until Bray took the Pittsburgh job, I believe.
I think he retired.
Or did he? Yeah,
I think he retired from coaching.
He's not going. He said he's not done coaching. He was just done coaching at Notre Dame. So at any rate, Brady Dunlap back on the market. He's in Lincoln this weekend. And then another little side note, Koa Pete, who is a 2025 prospect. He's the number 3 overall recruit in the 2025 class, will be visiting unofficially Nebraska and Coach Hoiberg next Sunday and Monday. His AAU team is going to be in Omaha playing this coming weekend, and he's going to make an unofficial visit here. Hoiberg has been in contact with him for quite a while. Scholarship offers out. And if you recognize the last name Pete, that is
Todd Pete
Jr.'s brother and Andrus Pete's brother. It's the youngest of the Pete family. Todd Pete played, I believe, 9 seasons in the NFL. And Andrus, who shunned Bo Pelini and Nebraska and went to Stanford instead. He's still playing for the
I remember
Saints
that
9 years in.
I most thought that Andrews Pete, because his brother Todd Pete was here. I think he was here at the time, right?
Yeah, Todd Pete Jr. was here.
Todd Pete was here, and he played defensive tackle, I believe. Andrus was a great offensive tackle, still playing in the NFL.
Yep.
And I thought he was going to pick Nebraska, and then he chose Stanford, and it was just devastating.
Yeah.
But that's happened from time to time over the last 20-plus years with Nebraska football.
Yeah.
Devastation.
Yes, it has.
But this could be really cool, right? How cool would this be if you get this Pete? Repeat the Petes.
Yeah.
Because this would be the best Pete maybe of all of them. I think he's ranked the third best player in the class of 2025.
He'll be a one and done. So, and that's where this is where you start. You and I were talking a little bit earlier today about it. Northwestern barely dipping their toe in the NIL waters right now, football, basketball, anything. And this is where NIL comes into play huge, because Koa Pete can go play professionally and make a pretty good, year's salary, or he can come to school for a year. So that, and that's where the NIL money comes in. I
wonder why more kids, I know there are kids going, doing the G League thing and making, $300,000-$400,000 a year. Those are usually guys like Pete, Koa Pete, that could do that. Usually if you're outside the top 25, you're not going to go to the G League. And even the guys inside the top 10 are not choosing the G League. You'd think that more guys would, though.
With the NIL money, that's,
maybe that's it. And NIL, speaking of that, NIL is going to affect more and more teams that don't have it, that aren't organized with it. Nebraska was one of the first to do it, to embrace it, knowing, hey, we don't like it necessarily, but it's coming. We're going to do it. Nebraska's well organized, especially in football, and I think getting more organized in basketball based on the results in Fred Hoiberg recruiting. Northwestern is not. No. They've lost a number of football players to the portal. Their baseball team is one of the worst in the Big Ten, and I think a couple of their pitchers selected the SEC to go get NIL money and play in the SEC. That's another thing.
Yeah.
But you're seeing it trickle down to other sports as well.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just football, NIL.
I had to wrap up Starting Gate real quick. We'll run through NHL playoffs. I'm just going to give you the 16 teams. The Boston Bruins, who probably will wind up winning the Stanley Cup this year, are taking on Florida. Toronto takes on Tampa. Go John Cooper and the Tampa Bay Lightning. I know John, so I'm.
Do you really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, awesome.
He was the head coach at Green Bay for 2 titles.
How many guys in the NHL would you say either players or coaches?
Current, probably only 3 or 4. But
and at one time it was much higher than that.
If you go players and coaches that I know,
there's a lot of stars
that played in the NHL, it's probably 25 or 30.
It's impressive.
So, I mean, I know Mark Messier. I don't have his phone number, but his son Lion played here, and
we'll have him on the show.
I got to him and I had a lot of conversations. Great guy.
By the way, Jordan Spieth, 10-foot putt to either maintain a 17 under par or miss it and lose.
Really?
If he misses it, he loses. He made it.
Dang
so
it.
He's still alive.
I don't like Jordan Spieth.
I actually do like him more than you do, and I understand why some people don't like Jordan Spieth. He's a little too over the top sometimes. He yells at his caddy sometimes. He yells at. He's emotional. He's an emotional player.
That's not why I don't like him. The show you turned me on to.
Full Swing.
Full Swing.
Great show. If you haven't seen Full Swing about the PGA Tour on Netflix, it's fantastic.
So they have an episode where they talk about Jordan Spieth and his best friend Justin Thomas.
Yeah.
And Spieth wins for the first time in a while, and Thomas was way out of the tournament. And Thomas waited around and made sure he could be there to give him a handshake and a hug on the 18th green after he finally kind of got back, because Spieth fell off the radar for a while. And then JT, who had been struggling and was finally going to win his second major, and Spieth played horribly that tournament and finished earlier in the day on Sunday. And
but
instead of sticking around,
that.
I don't care. This is your best friend.
But they're all friends on the PGA Tour.
But this is your best friend. The guy that was the best man in your wedding.
Yeah, they fly together to tournaments.
And you're so pissed at your own game that you can't go congratulate your buddy for winning his second major when a lot of people had written him off.
That's true. I mean, I don't know how big of a problem that Justin had with Jordan not showing up, but you're right. Like when Tiger won in 2019, the big comeback win at the Masters, everybody was there, and you understand. But he's become a better guy.
Well, yeah.
Than he was as a player. A lot of people still don't forgive him. By the way, Jordan gets into a playoff with Matthew Fitzpatrick. So that's what's going to be Harbortown is where they are this week. I would love to play that course. I would love to go to that course. It just looks like a really cool course. And they get the stupid checker jacket if they win.
Yep.
Which I don't know that I would put on.
No, I don't even know.
I think they force you to put it on when you win. But I'm like, you know what? You can keep it.
Well, it's one of those that is it like the Masters jacket where you get it for a year and then you got to give it back?
I think you get to keep it, but maybe I'm not. Or I think in some cases they give you a duplicate or something like that. I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
I'd be lying to you. I'm already lying to you that I know how it works because I don't.
There's a bunch of other NHL playoff series. NBA, the Lakers won today. It looked like AD went down with an arm injury.
They had to go to a play-in game to get into the playoffs, and now they look like they could be formidable.
Yeah, they're up on the Grizzlies 1-0. Your Celtics are up 1-0 on the Hawks.
Yes.
76ers up 1-0 on the Nets. Knicks up 1-0 on Cleveland. Kings up 1-0 on Golden State. And it's 26-15, Heat leading the Bucks. The other first-round matchups are the Nuggets and the Wolves, and the Suns and Tehran lose fighting Clippers.
Do you like anybody in particular? I know you don't watch a lot of NBA.
I just don't have much of an interest in the NBA. Never have.
I do like the playoffs. I'm a big Boston fan. I like Milwaukee probably to win it all. I think the East is better than the West, but I think a cool story would be Denver. If Denver could get through and win it with Jokic, I think that would be a great story.
I would like that. I'm serious. That's a good story. Like in the NBA playoffs, I don't care who wins because I was a Detroit Pistons fan. I still kind of am, but they're
John Morant would be cool with Memphis.
The worst team ever. So yeah, I want the best story to win. So,
well, I don't know what the best story, because a lot of people would say the best story is LeBron, coming back after being a disaster this year.
That's fine.
But they're probably too far back to win it. Golden State, even though they're the defending champion, they limped into the playoffs and they've been terrible on the road. So most people think they would be a very long shot to go very far in the playoffs. You've got Phoenix now that has Kevin Durant. So they're formidable.
But 4 weeks ago, the Lakers were not going to make the playoffs.
Right.
They were a laughing stock.
That would be a good story.
So like I said, I want the best story.
I think the story is different based on who you talk to, because I hate LeBron. Hate's a strong word. I don't hate anybody. I don't like LeBron. He's good for basketball, obviously. If he's not the best player ever, he's certainly the top 3 or 4 players of all time. I liked him in Cleveland. And then when he left Cleveland, I didn't like him as well. I thought the story, you talk about stories, I thought the story in Cleveland with Tyronn Lue and LeBron James winning the championship was awesome, but I don't like the Lakers, so I can't like LeBron now.
Well, and I was going to say, I was a huge Magic Johnson fan when I was a kid growing up, so I liked the Lakers. And so when he went out there, I was like, whatever. I cheer for individuals anymore outside of my Texas Rangers baseball team. Obviously, I'm a Cowboys fan, and Detroit Red Wings as far as hockey goes. Although since I know John Cooper, I cheer for the Tampa Bay Lightning as well. But other than that, I kind of just cheer for individual players and the best story, because I think the best story is always the most interesting one that comes out. So,
so we've got a playoff in the RBC Heritage. It'll be Matthew Fitzpatrick against Jordan Spieth in the playoffs. So we get extra golf, and we can talk about that a little bit later on. What do you want to hit on before we go to Lance Arvell? We could talk a little Nebraska baseball. We could talk a little Husker football, talk basketball. Those will be the 3 main topics that we have on the docket tonight.
What I want to do is I want to throw out some questions to everybody on the Starter Heyman text line, 402-464-5685. And you can jump on and comment as well. We are live on Twitter. We are live on Facebook. We are live on Twitch. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Allo channel 951.
We're on TV now.
We're on TV right
stars
now. Yep. And you now understand why Tom and I have been in radio for so long, because we have faces for radio.
That's right.
So we apologize that we
need to get a green room.
Yeah, we do.
If we're going to be on TV, there's got to be, I was talking to our guest in the green room, man. He was like, he had this story that you will not believe when he comes in. But we don't have a green room, so we can't talk about the green room.
Yeah, shouldn't we get a buffet too?
Buffet, a masseuse would be great.
Right
but
there.
as you mentioned, we really shouldn't be on TV because we have faces for radio.
Exactly.
So we probably shouldn't even tell people that we're on TV.
Exactly. So the one thing I want to throw out to anybody listening that wants to tweet in an answer, text in an answer, is Nebraska has signed 2 guys out of the portal. Okay. So, that's big because Rank Mast and Bryce Williams are 2 guys that are more than likely going to start next year for Nebraska.
Yeah.
Of the available options that we know about, Latrell Wrightsell Jr. and Hunter Salas may be a package deal.
It feels like they might be a package deal.
Javian McCollum is more a point guard than either one of those 2.
Yes.
But it's highly doubtful that you're going to get all 3.
I asked you this question earlier this week.
And I know we're going to talk about it later, but I want to ask everybody listening, if you had the choice between Wrightsell Jr. and Salas or Javian McCollum, which direction would you lean?
And most people would say, are you kidding? Are you stupid? Of course you take Hunter Salas and Latrell Wrightsell. But that might mean that you haven't followed recruiting closely and know how good the Javian McCollum is. Because he gives you 16 a game. I think he had a visit to Oklahoma or is visiting Oklahoma this weekend or next weekend. I can't remember.
Actually, I think it was this weekend.
Was it this weekend? So I'd rather have McCollum. I know it sounds crazy, but I really think he's that good. He's a true point guard. I'm not sure Hunter Salas is. He never played as a true point guard, even though he did in high school. He was never a true point guard at Gonzaga.
So with that being said, if you bring him in, don't have him run the point. Let Casey run the point.
But Casey's not a point.
He was in junior college.
He was
is technically for the 3-man team that played in the Olympics for Japan.
But don't you think, though, if he were a true point, that he would have played point at Nebraska at least? He occasionally brought the ball up. Very rarely did he bring the ball up.
We're throwing it out because if he wants to play in the NBA, he's not going to play in the NBA as a 2.
There's no way he can play as a 2 in the NBA.
At 6 foot tall.
Although Steph Curry is only 6'3", maybe, and doesn't play point. Not really. I mean, he's kind of a point, but he's not. Yeah, I guess he is. I just don't know. You're right. Casey, if you want to play in the NBA, you got to be a point guard. But I don't think Fred thinks you're a point guard. You're a specialist. Who, by the way, he can handle the ball. And he's been very good attacking the rim, and he can score at the rim. Excellent free throw shooter. I just don't see him as a guy that is a point guard. But that would be intriguing to me. Plus, you have Ramel Lloyd out there, who sat out this past year, redshirted for Nebraska. Some expect him to be the point guard next year.
Well, and you also have Q McPherson that has just suffered knee injuries the last couple of years. That was going to be the backup point guard last year until the preseason injury. So,
but you know what? Latrell Wrightsell can score too. So if you could get Salas and Wrightsell averaged 16 a game.
Well, I know. So Latrell Wrightsell, Bryce Williams, Rank Mast, and Javian McCollum, 2 of which are already signed to come to Nebraska. All 4 of those guys were the best player on each of their individual teams. They were all mid-majors. I get it. And then Hunter Salas, obviously former 5-star out of Omaha, but he was on a team that was, picked to go to the Final Four, at least Elite 8. And he was just stuck on a team that had the National Player of the Year or the guy that, was in the conversation in Drew Timme. So
I think we'll save a bulk of this conversation for our guest, BC, a little bit later on. But just a little tease for basketball next hour. I think this is your starting 5. Keisei Tamanaga, Jawan Gary, Rink Mass, Bryce Williams, and then I don't know. I don't know who comes out door number 1 on, who the start. You could say, well, yeah, it's going to be Jamarcus Lawrence. It could be Ramel Lloyd.
If Javian McCollum commits to Nebraska, it's going to be Javian McCollum.
Yeah, so in that starting 4 that I just mentioned, 4 of the 5, I don't see a point guard, so you probably need a point guard to be the 5th. But I think right now, today, and it could change based on what Nebraska does in the portal. Yep. If they get Salas, he's probably number 5. But I think that Casey, Jawan Gary, Rink Mask, who I really like, Bryce Williams, I think that's 4 of the 5.
Yep,
I like that.
All righty.
Excellent.
We'll jump into the comments off the text line after we have a chat with Lance Harvell, which is coming up next.
Yeah. It is. And this is Husker Rewind. He's Mike Melby. I'm Tom Stevens. Back with Lance Harvell. Coming up next.
Happy Hour with Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary.
Shout out to Kansas for burning stuff. They're doing that again. They do it every year.
Does Nebraska burn stuff?
No.
Nebraska does not burn stuff. We are anti-burning.
I mean,
Correct.
I wouldn't say anti, but yeah. I'm not anti-burning. But you know.
So Rico is hoping that Nebraska starts burning.
Look, I'm just saying, if you need some stuff on fire, I might want to help you out.
Weekdays from 1 to 2 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
For great views, go to Kansas. For unforgettable views of action-packed racing, go to Kansas Speedway. With a premier facility that gives fans what they want, how they want to see it. And with a Saturday doubleheader, a Sunday Cup Series race, and great deals on kids' tickets, the views will get better all weekend long. NASCAR weekend at Kansas Speedway, May 6th and 7th. Get your tickets today at kansasspeedway.com.
Hi, everyone. Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. Spring is here. Summer is fast approaching. With weddings, vacations, and weekend getaways on your mind, do not let car issues prevent you from getting where you need to be. Car problems shouldn't be something that you put up with. Let us get you back on the road in comfort and safety. We diagnose all makes and models from Porsches to Hondas, Toyotas, and Chevrolets. We fix a variety of issues with all of them with our talented techs and our experienced staff. A1 Automotive at 11th and L, downtown Lincoln, always honest answers.
America's been around since 1776. That's nothing. America's still just learning how to party. The Irish? The Irish have been doing it for thousands of years. Party the Irish way at McKinney's Irish Pub in the Haymarket. They've got your favorite Irish beers on tap, along with all the locals and domestics. Plus great house cocktails, a huge selection of Irish whiskey, and the best Irish pub food in town. See the full menu and list of specials online at mckinneyspub.com or just head down there. McKinney's Irish Pub at 7th and P in the Haymarket.
Repeat after me. I will not touch the fuse box.
I will probably not touch the fuse box.
Sip, do you remember what happened last time?
Yeah, I remember.
What happened?
Half of the city block lost power.
And?
My chicken condo went haywire.
That's right. The chickens ran wild. So what do we do instead?
Call Joe at Ambition Electric and let him handle everything. Look, saved on speed dial.
Ambition Electric, 402-217-3415 or online at ambitionelectric.com.
Are you planting this spring? Make safety your priority. LES requires any landscaping or trees to be planted a safe distance from electrical lines and equipment to give crews safe access. Visit les.com/trees to learn more.
General contractors, business owners, property owners. The success of your business requires doing business with the right people. And the right people, when it comes to drywall, acoustical ceilings, and specialty products, are at Premier Drywall. Kevin and his crew will give your project the response and attention it deserves.
You'll get all of the attention to detail and quality that you would expect from someone who's been in the business for 30 years. For your new builds, build-outs, or renovations, reach out to Kevin. Kevin at premierdw.com. Premier Drywall in Lincoln.
Too many people believe that chronic pain, allergies, or illness are permanent and something you're stuck with. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness has been proving that narrative wrong for 29 years and changing lives for the better in the process. Their team is trained in the newest, most advanced pain-relieving techniques and ways to deal with toxins, allergies, pollution, and emotion that make you ill. Call today for a free consultation at 531-254-5695 or go to novotnynutritionandwellness.com. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness, located at 7th and Superior. Nebco is hiring CDL drivers for Ready Mix Concrete, Husker Concrete, and Beatrice Concrete. Nebco offers great pay, medical, and retirement benefits, paid time off, and we pay for CDL training. Apply today to earn an average total compensation of $50,000 to $60,000 your first year driving. From Nebco's beginnings in 1908, it's the employees that have formed the company's solid foundation. Start your career today. Visit nebcoinc.com. That's NEBCOINC.com.
You've driven by GE Landscape Supply countless times, likely without even knowing, at 6701 Cornhusker Highway. But now it's time to stop in. GE Landscape Supply sells to homeowners and contractors with a vast selection of landscaping and construction material. They sell in bulk to save you money, buying anything from a 5-gallon bucket to a semi-load. They deliver anywhere, and if you mention you heard this ad on 93.7 The Ticket, they'll deliver in town for free through the month of April with some restrictions applying. Go to GELandscapeSupply.com for more info or call 402-467-1627.
I'm the master now. We're in the Sunday Rewind back to the Sunday Rewind with Tom and Mike on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Not a bad weekend for Husker baseball. Scored 35 runs. They had 7 home runs today, a bunch of other home runs throughout the weekend. Improved to 21-11 and 1, 7-2 in the conference. They win 8-3 on Friday night, 9-2 on Saturday, and destroy Northwestern today, 18-5. Nice sweep for the Huskers, and Lance Harvell joins us right now on the studio line, the Honda of Lincoln hotline, Sutter Heyman text line as well. Lance, congratulations. Great weekend.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. I like scoring. What'd you say it was? 35
runs. Yeah.
Yeah. Who's the hitting coach anyway? I mean, that guy needs a beer.
Yeah, we needed 18 today to get to 35, but I'll take it.
So are you disappointed? You only hit 7 home runs today. That's the main question I think most Husker fans are asking.
Disappointed? No. I think yesterday we hit for the cycle in one inning, that big second inning that we had, and today I think the goal, we set out to try to hit 8 doubles today, and usually when we do that, I was talking to somebody before the series on Friday, and I just said when we're locked in with our approach and we're just trying to split gaps, that's when we're extremely dangerous. And so we were just trying to hit doubles today, doubles mentality, and end up popping 7 home runs. And, we had obviously a favorable wind today, but, you still gotta hit it. And the other team is going to pitch kind of to the conditions as far as which side of the plate they're going to pitch to. And we had a great approach going today. And I think kind of the telltale sign, if anybody wants to say anything about the wind, they hit 2, I think, maybe something like that, but it wasn't like it was 15 combined home runs on the day.
Yeah.
And we got into some of those balls regardless of the wind. So it was fun today. We were locked in, and Will Walsh was really good on the mound again, and the bullpen did their job, and so it was a good day at the ballpark.
I've asked you before, you've got 2 400 hitters, Bryce Matthews and Max Anderson. Well, I've asked you before, what do you say to Max? And you say, I try not to say anything to Max. What about Bryce?
Nothing.
Have you had the same formula with Bryce?
Pretty much this year, yeah. Just try not to get in his way. Those 2 guys, about the only thing you could really tell them is just with their approach, their direction, or maybe what to sit on, maybe in a certain count if they're being pitched a certain way, just getting on the same page with them. But, both of those guys, they're so mature now as hitters that they, knock on wood, they haven't been in any real major funks this year because, they for sure don't take one at bat to the next. But even within an at bat, they might get fooled on a pitch or look bad on a pitch, but they're mature enough to get their approach right back on track. It's just it's unrelenting, their approach to hitting. And so they're tough to pitch to because you can't just throw them breaking balls and get them spinning off the ball and get them disconnected, because then when you try to sneak a fastball by them, they'll send it the other way and stay behind it, where they're not just, hitting a flare the other way, but they're splitting a gap or hitting the ball out of the ballpark the other way. So I know for Max, for sure, we kind of talk about it as coaches and laugh about it. I think he's sitting at 13 or 14 home runs now, something like
13.
that. him and Bryce kind of have a little Sosa McGuire 1998 thing going right now. They just keep playing leapfrog, each other with the home runs. I don't know that I've ever seen a spray chart like Max Anderson's. Everything, I think the only pull side home run that he's hit this year of his 13, still was to left center. Everything is just the other way. And it's unbelievable what he's doing.
Well, 61 homers through 35 or so games, 20 games left. I believe the record in a season for Nebraska was back in 2005, which wasn't a bad year if I remember right, with 95. So, you guys are kind of at least in the conversation of some uncharted territory. Lance Harvell, third base coach, hitting coach, assistant baseball coach for Nebraska on the Husker Rewind with us here on 93.7 The Ticket. I want to talk to you and ask you a couple of questions about the second inning on Saturday. You guys score 9 runs. 8 of them come with 2 outs. The aggressiveness that you showed on the base paths, though, that inning was insane. It was almost a hit and run every single at bat. How fun is it to be in that mindset and have a team with that ability?
Yeah, it's my favorite. I'll say the simple answer. It's my favorite. We go into each game with a game plan, and there's a formula for what we're trying to do offensively. We want to score first, and then once we do that, we can, once we're on the board, now we can start with the running game, and then once we do that, now the pitchers are worried about our runners, and maybe they're trying to be a little quicker to the plate. They start hanging breaking balls, and then we start splitting gaps, hitting home runs, and then now it's just we've got the game kind of spinning out of control on them. Everything is sped up. They don't know what's what. They don't know if they need to try to shut down the running game or they need to just, try to pitch us tough because and that's kind of what that second inning was. There just so happened to be 2 outs, what Coach Childress coins the 2-out nightmare. And that's what we were doing. We scored first, and that the only hit and run called of the inning was the first run that we scored. Ben Columbus burns a center fielder, hits a line drive right past the center fielder on a hit and run. Other than that, the rest of that inning, it was just we're putting the runner in motion, trying to steal a bag to get in scoring position, and it just so happened that we were putting the ball in play behind him. And then it was just kind of on from there.
Well, and that was what was so crazy is I'm listening to it on the radio and it's Fisher's off with the pitch and the hit. It's into right field. That's going to be down for a base. Okay, Swanson's off with the pitch. Oh, another hit. It was just every batter. And I'm like, who does this? This is crazy. Yeah. But you guys were just trying to steal a base. You just got a nice juicy pitch. And obviously your team delivered there.
Yeah. And we've kind of done that. That's been a little bit, again, it's not by design. All we're trying to do is maybe steal a bag to get into scoring position, or sometimes it just kind of maybe you have a gut feeling that that the ball's going to be put in play, based on how the at bat's going and who's at the plate and the pitcher's stuff. Like, does he have swing and miss stuff or not? And sometimes it's just kind of a let's try to stay out of a double play here. But this team, we would probably have about 10 more stolen bases, obviously, maybe like 15 now after the second inning yesterday. But that's ended up just kind of happening organically, with this team this year. It's not a designed hit and run play. We're just running, trying to steal a base and end up, getting a hit or splitting a gap and scoring because of it.
Nebraska assistant baseball coach Lance Harvell, our guest. Emmett Olson didn't have his best stuff on Friday night. Jace Kaminska was not available, and yet the bullpen continues to get better. Yeah, Jackson Brockett pitched well yesterday. Will Walsh today goes 5 innings, 2 hits, no runs. That's got to be really encouraging. I know we're talking a lot about the run score, 35 this weekend, but it feels like you guys have found something on the mound.
Yeah, the pitching in the bullpen has been awesome, and it's really it's caught up to what we thought they were going to be when the season started, and not having to use, obviously not having Kaminska available this weekend. Like, we knew that going in. And so guys were already, in the right frame of mind to just kind of that next man up mentality, but not having to overextend some guys out of the bullpen, not having to use Shanneman, not having to use Garza. Now coming into another big week, you've got some guys, rested up, ready to go. I think Kaminsky will be back ready to go this weekend against Iowa, and then you've got Shanneman's rested, Garza's rested, and yeah, I mean, you look at what Brockett was able to do, what Walsh was able to do. Those were big time performances when the team needed them most.
Really was. I want to give you an opportunity to pat yourself on the back for an amazing play. Again, I heard it on the radio, but I believe it was in Friday's game, a foul ball that was over towards you on the third base bag, and you just let it run right up your leg and caught it. How did that all paint the picture for me? Because Greg Sharp and Ben McLaughlin were blown away.
Well, that probably just happened organically from me not wanting to have to bend over to pick up the foul ball, and it was hit hard enough where I couldn't jump out of the way, so I had to make a play. Otherwise, I wouldn't hear the end of it from our dugout. But no, I think it wasn't hit really hard, but it was hit hard enough where I just kind of put my foot out there and kind of got my toe under it and just kind of kicked it up to myself. And something that happens, I mean, just on a baseball field every single day, probably 10 times a day, just, shagging BP or in the cage if a ball comes rolling or whatever. And, you just happen to be in front of 5,000 fans. No big deal.
That's what you do. That's what you do. You got to make the play when the play is presented. Lance Harvell, our guest. I thought I didn't know that Nebraska would be this good offensively. They're very good. They're proving to be better maybe on the mound than you thought. Did you know you would be this good defensively? Has anything about this team surprised you?
Well, no, I mean, the defensively kind of, we knew moving Max to second base and how good, he was. And then watching Bryce, all fall and the move that he's made at shortstop. And you always kind of you gauge your defense, based on the middle of the field, how good you are up the middle, your catcher, your two middle infielders, and your center fielder. And I think we've got defensively as good as anybody in the country. And I bet 90% of the teams out there would trade any of our guys, any or all of them, for theirs. And so talking to one of Northwestern's assistant coaches, who was a guy that played 10 years in the big leagues, he was talking to his scout after Friday's game. He was talking to the scout that drafted him, way back when, and he was asking him about Bryce. And I think that there were some rankings or something that came out earlier this week, and Bryce was ranked, I think, maybe in the 60s or something, maybe like prospect overall, number 60 something. And this guy told the scout, he said, if there's 60 players better than him in the country, I would be shocked, because that guy he's a stud. And we just so happen to have two of them playing right up the middle for us. And I think Josh Karen is going to be, he's just a sophomore, but he's one of the best catchers in the country. And I think he's going to be one of those guys next year that are on these lists. And then Casey Burnham, I mean, for him coming in, kind of knowing this is his last go round, unless somebody gives him a shot. But the year he's having, not only at the plate, but out there just holding down center field for us, has been huge. He's kind of a safety blanket, at least for me, and I kind of catch myself during the games. Some of the, we get into an inning and it starts to get a little hairy, and I find myself just, kind of just saying, just hit a fly ball to Burnham. Just hit one in Bernie's direction, because he's going to go catch it. He made two incredible plays today. Really three, because of the wind and everything today. I mean, you couldn't figure out what the wind was doing, because it wasn't like it was just blowing every ball a certain direction. I mean, if you hit it up above the stadium and it got up there in that wind, it was moving about 6 different times before it finally came down. And there was one play he made coming all the way in from center field that Bryce had kind of gone back on and thought he was going to kind of make the play, and Bernie came in and called him off and ended up kind of making an acrobatic play there. I mean, he just is. He's been great out in center field, and all of that just kind of spills over. You know, I mean, Dylan Carey's one of the, even as a true freshman, is one of the best third basemen in the country. You know, we've kind of had a revolving door at first base, but that's not because, you know, we're searching for an answer over there. It's because we have multiple guys that can play that position really, really well, and we've been able to play matchups there. And then you've got guys on the corners in the outfield with Evans and Swanson, and then Anglam whenever he, you know, gets back to full health, that are just fearless. They play fearless, and you just, you know, it's a good feeling knowing that you got guys that can go make plays for you. And I think that's probably been another reason, you know, the pitching has kind of come around the way that it has too.
Happy that Garrett's okay too after taking the one off the helmet yesterday.
Yeah.
Last one before.
Well, they hit him in the probably the hardest part of his body. He's got a pretty hard head.
Last question for you, Lance Harvell, Nebraska assistant baseball coach, joining us here on the Husker Rewind. Big week. Creighton at home on Tuesday, and then you're at Iowa next weekend. Hawks are 25-9, 4-5 in the conference, but it's never easy to play over in Ames. Boy, talk about a wind tunnel of a type of a facility. It's crazy over there, but talk about this upcoming week. 4 huge games for your squad.
Yeah, I mean, it all starts with Tuesday. You know, we've got to go win that game, and something that we've been a little inconsistent in the midweeks this year, and that's something that's been a point of emphasis and something that hasn't really sit well with our whole team, not just our coaches, but our whole team. So we know we got an in-state rival coming in, and we're going to get their best shot, and we got to make sure that we give them theirs.
Nebraska in first place in the Big Ten standings at 7-2. Indiana sits at 9-3, but Iowa next weekend, and they are good. So we'll be. But first things first, we got to beat Creighton first. So I don't like Creighton. I don't mind saying I don't like Creighton, but I do like Lance Harvell. We try to have him on as much as we can. I don't know if we'll get to you next week. Being on the road, you'll probably be on the bus traveling home after a sweep of Iowa, right?
Well, that's the plan. Again, we'll worry about Iowa when they get here, and we'll worry about winning game one. That's the message every Friday. You can't sweep unless you win the first one. So,
all right.
One thing at a time there, but yeah, I'll let you know. Hey, we'll talk this week, and
right.
We'll see what we can maybe work out.
Oh, it'd be fun to beat Creighton and Iowa in the same week. Oh, that would be so much fun. Lance,
if we win, if it's going to be, you know, if it's one of those weekends where it's a fun bus ride home, maybe we can just get on the call, and I'll just put you on speakerphone, and y'all can just listen to the bus for 10 minutes after a win.
That's all we want. That's all we want.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All we want. All right. Thanks, Coach. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys.
I just fooled. I think I just fooled him into calling us next week.
That would be fantastic.
I hope that is the scenario. I would take that for this show. Just 2 hours of them celebrating on the bus. I would play that over our show.
There was a couple of fans that actually requested after a huge playoff win up in Fargo if I would do the post game instead of doing it immediately after the game, do it as we were pulling out on the bus ride home. And I said, yeah, that wouldn't work. We would violate a lot of SEC laws. So
it should be fun. We'll talk a lot of baseball. In fact, that's going to carry us through the summer. If they're playing in June, that's good. That's good for Nebraska baseball.
Absolutely.
And I'm thinking this is the type of team that could. I'm not saying they will.
They got to get the consistency down. And what Coach Harvell was just talking about, man, that midweek, it's been a little bit of a bugaboo for him this year.
But they're starting to find some pitching.
Yeah,
we talked about their defense. It's so good. And Emmett Olson is great on Friday night. Kaminska wasn't available this weekend, but then Brockett steps up. Will Walsh has stepped up. Yeah. I think, Carey losing on Tuesday really hurt for Omaha. Nebraska didn't have a great approach at the plate to win that game. They still should have won that game. And that stings a little bit. It could have been a perfect week. But I like the direction this team is headed. I think they're going to get better and better.
Hey, you were at the scrimmage yesterday.
I was. You want to talk about it?
I want to quiz you when we come back.
A quiz from Mike on the scrimmage is coming up. It's Husker Rewind. Tom Stevens here. Mike Melby there. More after this.
You've driven by GE Landscape Supply countless times, likely without even knowing, at 6701 Cornhusker Highway. But now it's time to stop in. GE Landscape Supply sells to homeowners and contractors with a vast selection of landscaping and construction material. They sell in bulk to save you money, buying anything from a 5-gallon bucket to a semi-load. They deliver anywhere, and if you mention you heard this ad on 93.7 The Ticket, they'll deliver in town for free through the month of April, with some restrictions applying. Go to GELandscapesupply.com for more info, or call 402-467-1627.
There's nothing quite like the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese beef. The Mercado offers unique ingredients you can't find anywhere else, open every day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The full-service butcher shop and retail store is wonderful for meat lovers with their exclusive Certified Piedmontese beef and assorted sausages, plus other quality meats, including pork, chicken, and a wide range of the freshest seafood. Plus, every Friday from 11 to 2, the Mercado serves up the best lunch in town on their Friday Feast menu. Stop in at the Mercado today at 84th and Havelock, or visit their website at cpmercado.com to see current deals.
Babe, pack your bags. We're going to Vegas.
Vegas?
We just got the estimate from the wedding caterer, and we're going to have to elope.
Actually, Members Owned Credit Union is offering no-fee home equity lines of credit. We can borrow what we need with equity from the house.
Wait, so we can keep the bacon wrap dates for the cocktail hour?
We can keep the bacon wrap dates. From wedding bells to trekking the globe and everything in between, capture your dreams your way with a no-fee Members Owned Credit Union home equity line of credit. Learn more at membersownedheloc.org. Limitations may apply. Equal housing lender.
Too many people believe that chronic pain, allergies, or illness are permanent and something you're stuck with. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness has been proving that narrative wrong for 29 years and changing lives for the better in the process. Their team is trained in the newest, most advanced pain-relieving techniques and ways to deal with toxins, allergies, pollution, and emotion that make you ill. Call today for a free consultation at 531-254-5695 or go to novotnynutritionandwellness.com. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness, located at 7th and Superior.
For great views, go to Kansas. For unforgettable views of action-packed racing, go to Kansas Speedway. With a premier facility that gives fans what they want, how they want to see it. And with a Saturday doubleheader, a Sunday Cup Series race, and great deals on kids' tickets, the views will get better all weekend long. NASCAR weekend at Kansas Speedway, May 6th and 7th. Get your tickets today at kansasspeedway.com.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com. When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club, or space club, and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? No, forget that. How about a margarita club? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge and join the best club in town. 10 flavors of margaritas like Maui Wowie, burnt pineapple, and mango tango. Try all 10 of them and receive your own souvenir margarita glass. Make it your new Monday night tradition. $4 margaritas and $4 taco baskets. Grab the crew and head on over. Monday nights or any night. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
This is the Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to the Husker Rewind. My name is Mike Melby. That is Mr. Tom Stevens.
Yes.
And we are coming to you live on 93.7 The Ticket.
Playoffs still going on at the RBC.
It is.
They're going to be dark before
I was going to say.
too long. I wonder what they're going to do. I mean, they're on 8. I think they just keep playing 18 over and over. It's Spieth and Fitzpatrick in a playoff. This has got to be the third or fourth hole since we went on the air.
You know how everybody's like, they reinvent how to do this and that to make the game more interesting? I say you eliminate playoffs after the first hole. From now on the PGA Tour.
Wrestle?
No. Every golf course that is on the PGA Tour should be required to build an amusement style putt-putt golf course with windmills and dragon's mouths and pipes and weird stuff, and then it's just literally putt-putt golf for the
now. See,
for
now
the
you're
win.
making fun of my favorite sport. And
I'm not. I actually
will
think
not
it would
have
be kind of fun.
And Mike Melby is actually a very good golfer. Would regularly beat me to smithereens. But he probably doesn't enjoy watching golf on TV like I do. I do like when it gets dusk, when you could play maybe 2 more holes in this playoff. And I think back to what was the shot the Tiger hit and almost pitch dark to like 2 feet.
I know exactly. I actually could see the shot right now. I can't remember.
I'm trying to
what it
think.
was,
That was one of my favorite tournaments that Tiger had, especially when you consider the circumstance when he couldn't have possibly have seen the flag.
Well, it's one of those where he just goes to Stevie Williams. He's like, "What's the yardage?" 173. How's the wind? Looks like it's about 5 miles an hour in your face. Okay.
Fitzpatrick might roll it in. This might go in the hole to win the tournament.
Oh, just
I think Fitzpatrick probably won. He's got a 2-foot putt, if that, a foot putt. So he almost knocked it in.
So yesterday you were at Memorial Stadium, and evidently, rumor has it that Matt Rule and the Nebraska football team were at Memorial Stadium yesterday too, and they went through a little bit of a scrimmage.
Yeah, they did.
So I've got a quiz for you that I know our listeners are going to love to hear your answers. How many? We heard that the ball hit the turf too many times. How many turnovers were there in the scrimmage yesterday?
You know what? I don't have an official count, but the ball, there was Heinrich Harburg actually made a very nice run, like 15, 20 yards, then pitched the ball. It was a bad pitch behind him. A late pitch, which you haven't seen at Nebraska for quite a while. No. Occasionally, Tommy would do that. But you used to see Tom Osborne, Tommy Frazier do that. Burke Behringer do that all the time, run 15 yards and then pitch it for another 30. But it was a bad pitch, and he fumbled it out of bounds, so he got away with it. There was a fumble, which was silly on the part of Jeff Sims. I didn't think Jeff Sims handled the ball very well yesterday. He had a nice run. It might have been a 40-yard plus run that he had, but he threw an interception. He put it on the ground, and when he threw the interception, Matt Rule stopped it completely. Stopped the scrimmage. And I don't know if he was directly yelling. I don't think he was directly yelling at Jeff Smith. I think he was just, it was more of a, hey, we need to get our act together. Because I think his thing is, he doesn't want to do the spring game as a show. He didn't want this practice to just be a show. He wants them, he truly means it when he says, I want to get better every time we practice. And I want the practices to mean something. He's big into situational football. He said the defense, and they did pretty much win the day. But the scrimmage ended on an untimed play with Jeff Sims hitting Marcus Washington for a touchdown.
Yeah.
So that's a lesson there because you won the scrimmage and yet you didn't finish it.
Yep.
That was a mental error to let that touchdown happen. So I like that they practice with a purpose. There's a lot of physicality. Yes, the quarterbacks had green jerseys on, but it didn't seem to matter. They were hitting them. They were hitting them hard.
We've all seen the video released by Husker Vision where it's Heinrich Harburg with the green jersey on,
he got
leveling Isaac Gifford,
and he got leveled himself a few times. Richard Torres got hit pretty hard. So they were not supposed to tackle the quarterbacks, but they would put them on the ground. So they did tackle.
Let me ask you a couple more questions. Of the quarterbacks, who in your mind played the best of the quarterbacks yesterday?
I think Jeff Sims slightly.
Over who?
Over Harburg.
Okay.
It does surprise me that I'm still saying Heinrich Harburg at quarterback because, there was that whole thing earlier this year that they did the GPS thing. And Matt Rule's very into GPS timing, not just the 40-yard dash and the 100-yard dash, but how fast you are with GPS as you're running. And Harburg's one of the fastest guys. Smothers is one of the fastest guys. And I thought, well, that would probably mean a guy who's maybe the third-team quarterback would have a position change, would move to a tight end. He's big enough to be a tight end or a big wide receiver or be a Luke McCaffrey type where you bring him in for situational football or just to run it. And I can see them doing that, to run some package plays for Heinrich Harburg. He was the second-best quarterback. And quite frankly, there were some other guys. I didn't think Chubba was very good at all. I didn't think Purdy looked very accurate. The same things that we saw during the season, a lack of accuracy, were a problem. He needs to improve that part of his game. They all do. They're not ready to win a Big Ten championship. Are they ready to win 6 games? Are they ready to win 7, 8 games? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to know after these practices, and I think we'll come out of the spring game with similar thoughts that, okay, the running backs played well, but is it the defense? The defense played great, but is it the offensive line? But we're going to say those things, and so you don't really learn anything aside from skill set. You can see that a guy throws a good deep ball, or a guy has great hands, or can knock people over running the football. But I don't think you can tell team-wise how good a team is.
Okay, so Sims and Harburg, top 2 on the QB spot. Let's move to 2 other positions, skill positions. Who was the best running back? Who was the best receiver yesterday?
Marcus Washington was the best receiver, although you saw some good catches from the tight ends.
Nice.
The tight ends, Gilbert dropped one, but I think that's going to be something to watch. Marcus Washington caught a touchdown pass. He's got some speed. There is no Trey Palmer on this team. Billy Kemp, the 15th, whatever. Billy Kemp did not play that I saw.
Time because you wanted to see other people because you already know what you have with him. How about Joshua Fleeks?
Joshua Fleeks dropped a touchdown pass, a perfectly thrown ball from Jeff Sims. Now, I mean, you'd rather have him do it this time of year for sure. But that was one of them that I would have liked to have seen caught because I thought it was a touchdown. It was kind of a slant, a crossing pattern, 15-yard in. Fleeks had it in his pocket and just didn't secure it.
How about running backs? Gabe Ervin?
Ervin, clear number 1.
Okay.
A.J. Allen, unavailable. I thought Ramir had a few nice runs, but I think the hype surrounding Gabe Ervin might be real.
How about special teams?
They did not look
do
good.
Much?
Missed kicks. Didn't look like the punt blocking was good. I would worry about special teams at this point.
Okay.
But we're seeing them in one scenario. Maybe they've been good throughout the spring.
Well, and the other thing, and Matt Rule alluded to this in his press conference, this is not the time of year that we need to be playing our best football. We need to be building every single practice upon each other and getting better every single time that we go out on the field. And with what we've seen from the special teams that Ed Foley has been a part of as the coach, I think our special teams are going to be good. Maybe they just had an off day yesterday. But by the way,
Thomas Fodoni, by the way, is a guy that I probably should have mentioned at tight end. He looks good. He looks really good. He made a couple of big catches. He's received a lot of hype from Matt Rule this spring.
So you aced the quiz.
Thank you. It was an extremely easy quiz. So that's good.
You want to talk some hoops after we come back?
Yeah, we could do that. We could talk some hoops for sure. I want to save a lot of it for the discussion with BC, but we're going to mix that in with football as well. So hoops is a good discussion.
Okay.
The transfers that are here, what you think, give me your starting 5. That's always a fun game. Give me your starting 5. Mike Melby there. Tom Stevens here. It's Husker Rewind. More after this.
General contractors, business owners, property owners. The success of your business requires doing business with the right people. And the right people, when it comes to drywall, acoustical ceilings, and specialty products, are at Premier Drywall. Kevin and his crew will give your project the response and attention it deserves.
You'll get all of the attention to detail and quality that you would expect from someone who's been in the business for 30 years. For your new builds, build-outs, or renovations, reach out to Kevin. Kevin at PremierDW.com. Premier Drywall in Lincoln.
It's April, and that means the school year is almost over and summer road trips are on the horizon. Stop telling yourself you'll upgrade your car someday and do it now. Mullen Motors lot is full of great vehicles to take home, so you don't have to worry about your current car barely surviving another road trip. Come check out their lot just north of 48th and Layton and find your next ride, as summer road trips are just around the corner. Mullen Motors.
No taglines, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
This is Jay Foreman. When I played football for Nebraska and in the NFL, I wore protective gear to safeguard my health. Today, I'm not only protecting my health, but everyone in our community by staying up to date with the bivalent COVID vaccine. Update your protection with the bivalent COVID vaccine while it's still free. Find out more at healthylincoln.org. That's healthylincoln.org.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $24.11 per hour, which grows to $28.27 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $32.76 per hour with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates, with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
I'm Brian. At 58, doctors told me I had the heart of a 37-year-old man. They told me that after my heart transplant surgery. If you're a smoker, here are some tips in case that happens to you. First, you have to quit smoking before you can get on a list for a transplant. So quit now. And never feel sorry for yourself. I don't. I only feel sorry for that 37-year-old man.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Nebco is hiring CDL drivers for Ready Mix Concrete, Husker Concrete, and Beatrice Concrete. Nebco offers great pay, medical, and retirement benefits, paid time off, and we pay for CDL training. Apply today to earn an average total compensation of $50,000 to $60,000 your first year driving. From Nebco's beginnings in 1908, it's the employees that have formed the company's solid foundation. Start your career today. Visit nebcoinc.com. That's NEBCOINC.com.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now, here are your hosts, Tom Stevens and Mike Melby.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, Husker Rewind, Mike Melby and Tom Stevens. Big weekend for Fred Hoiberg this weekend. I think the pickup of Rink Mass, the 6'9", 240-pound center from Bradley, a transfer, was a huge one. But Bryce Williams also from Charlotte, a guy that averaged 16 points a game and helped them win the CBI. Nebraska could have played in the CBI against Charlotte this year. They decided not to because it's for teams like Charlotte.
I don't think any Power 5 schools.
Yeah, no,
really play
no,
it,
but
so.
I was kidding there. No, do not. In fact, I think it's a tournament where you have to pay to be in it. You got to pay to be in it. But Bryce Matthews is no longer in it for Charlotte. He's in it for the Big Red. I think it's a big get. Which of those two, bigger get for Nebraska?
I think Rank Mast is simply because he's a big man that's going to go ahead and get you 8 boards a game.
Second leading rebounder in the Missouri Valley.
Yeah, and the fact that he can shoot the three with what imagine if Derek Walker had a 3-point shot. Walker in his Nebraska career.
Have you seen the videos? He apparently does now.
Well, I saw that. I did. I watched the video, and in some of the things you've seen him do, he didn't do when he was at Nebraska. But that's not the style of play that Coach Hoiberg runs. But could you imagine Derek Walker, who was 1 for 4 in his Nebraska career from 3, shot 37% from 3-point range, because half the time he's at the top of the key anyway.
Yep.
Well, all of a sudden now you got to worry about him launching threes. And I think he's a better rebounder, Rank Mast is, than Derek Walker is.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, does it translate to the Big Ten? Because it is a different conference. But he wanted to play the Big Ten, and had he not gone to Nebraska, it would have probably been Iowa or Wisconsin. He was bound and determined. I really like the fact that he's crafty around the rim. Yeah. He can really finish at a high level. 51% shooter, not quite as good as Derek Walker, but he's a really good shooter. And unlike Derek, he does have an excellent 3-point shot 35%. I think he can shoot even better than that. But Bryce Williams is a good get as well. I mean, he's
big time.
He's a 210, 15-pound guard that could probably play quite frankly, the 1, 2, or 3.
Well, and he's a 40% 3-point shooter.
Yeah, that's huge. And an 84% free throw shooter. I think Mass is not quite that good, somewhere around 70, 71.
73.6.
Well, thank you, Mike Melby, for the exact percentage there. So not as good as Bryce Williams, but I like the fact that they're getting guys in that can shoot and then make free throws as well.
That's kind of big.
Because Nebraska has not been good at the free throw line for a while, which surprises me how good of a shooter that Fred was and a good free throw shooter as well.
Outside of the Bryce McGowan year, so year 3 for Fred Hoiberg, as a team, our free throw percentages have just not been good.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. So at any rate, all the guys that not only that we've signed, so you've got Mass that shot 74% essentially from the line last year. Bryce Williams shot 84.3% from the line. Hunter Salas was a 78% free throw shooter. He's on the board. Latrell Wrightsell Jr., he shot 81.3% from the free throw line. And by the way, Wrightsell also is a 38% three-point shooter. So the guys that they have brought in, bottom line is they can shoot the rock. And by the way, Javian McCollum, 89% from the line.
Yeah, I know. That excites me. That most of these guys are also good defenders. So when you play good defense, you don't foul, and then you do get fouled, and you're good free throw shooters, that's all good. Is what I'm trying
Normally it is.
It's all good, and it's something that Nebraska hasn't necessarily had. So you get Bryce Williams, you get Rick Mass, and you get a 2024 commit in Nick Janik. Is it Janikowski or Janowski? Janowski. Nick Janowski.
Number 80 overall commit.
102 in the country. Number 2 in the state of Wisconsin is what I had. Maybe I had different figures.
The one I got was off of 24/7 since we're going to be speaking with Brian Christopherson.
Okay, well, then I got it from 24/7.
There you go.
The right place. But he shoots 55% from the field, 41% from 3. Again, I don't get quite as excited about guys that are committing for next year because they're not signed. Anybody who's not signed, I get a little nervous. In sales, they always say, get it signed. If they do get like Brady Dunlap to commit and then sign, that's a big one because he's 6'7" as well, 180, and can really shoot it. Was previously committed to Notre Dame and Mike Bray. And then Bray retired, and now he's saying that he's going to play, still coach, or I don't know.
It seemed fishy with him stepping away from Notre Dame.
But the thing about getting those two guys, Rick Mask and Bryce Williams, I think Nebraska and Hoiberg can be really picky. You've got a good roster as it stands. Sure, you need another big. You would like to have a true point guard, but you can be really picky when it's just 2 things instead of 100 things. Because it felt like that the first couple of years, they were just taking guys just to take guys.
Yeah.
And now there actually seems to be a plan with Fred Hoiberg.
Yeah, and it would have been nice to see John Hughley actually come on his visit next weekend, even though Mast kind of took what was going to wind up being his spot.
He wouldn't come. I mean, you're never going to come. You're never going to get those guys at Nebraska unless you're Kansas. Kansas can get 3 guys of the same thing. Well, Nebraska won't get that because guys demand playing time if they're coming to Nebraska.
Yeah, but at the same time now, what's the one need they have in the portal outside a point guard? That is a guy that's going to fill 15 minutes to spell Blaze Keita, spell Breidenbach, spell Mast. You need a 4 or a 5. You don't have a roster with enough 4s and 5s on it. You need a post player.
You need a big.
You got to get a big.
But I think that, and Robin Washington has mentioned this, it'll be interesting to see what BC says about it, that he thinks that now that you got Mast, that you weren't going to get Hughley, because he would be competing for minutes theoretically with Mass. So you get a guy that wouldn't compete for minutes with him. Get somebody who can play or is willing to play, kind of like a Blaze Keita made it. A guy that's willing to play 15, 20 minutes, whatever you need in that particular game. Come in, be an energy guy, get rebounds, block shots, because you have enough scores or you think you're going to have enough scores next year where you don't need to have Derek Walker production from the 5. But you might have that anyway with Mass, but you certainly don't need another guy like that. You just need a guy that can come in and be a player. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you need a guy that's going to understand that his role is coming off the bench and giving you 6 minutes a half.
But I agree with you at the same time. They're probably going to need another big. And you don't know for sure about Blaze's ankles. They've been a problem this year. Maybe it's just a one. They obviously do know. I bet they do know because they see him probably practice every day or shoot around every day, and they talk to doctors that have have worked on him, but we don't know. So from the outside looking in, I would say you probably need another big. But outside of that, I mentioned I have my starting four. It'll be interesting to see if that's even close to. I think Casey is coming back. I really believe, just talking to the people that I've talked to, that Casey Tamanaga is coming back. I think that maybe had he not been coming back, he would have announced something by now. Obviously, you can't read into his mind, but from what I've heard, Nebraska's done a good job of closing in on settling a deal, getting a deal done with Casey.
Well, and it's the collective is getting an NIL deal, and that's the whole thing with the way it is for foreign players that are student athletes, and it's same for Jazz Shelley with the women's basketball team. And Izzy Bourne, had she decided to come back, there are now the compliance team at the University of Nebraska has done a masterful job in navigating the waters of how do we help our student athletes that are from other countries cash in on the NIL.
Well, and they could, that was the same situation with Kerr when he was in town. He ultimately chose West Virginia. Kerr Krissa, the guard that also visited Nebraska. I think that West Virginia might have had a better deal than Nebraska did in place, and it was something Nebraska was working on. Now they have to figure out a deal from Casey, and maybe they thought they couldn't pay two guys from outside the states. They can't pay Casey and then come and pay Kerr Krissa the same way. I don't know, because I'm sure there's some obstacles to work around. But if you think that Nebraska needs one more thing, is there one more thing for you in the portal?
Bottom line right now, with the team they have, they need a point guard. They need a guy that's going to handle the ball.
Yeah,
they need Javian McCallum.
Yeah, I think so. If they get him, he's a guy that can come in and play the point, probably play the off guard. We'll talk about some of these topics with Brian in just a few minutes of Husker 24/7 BC will be on the show. Anything else with that?
Who is your starting five?
I've got Casey Tamanaga if he comes back, but I think he's coming back. I really do. Jawan Gary, I do worry a little bit about the shoulder. Is the shoulder healthy? Because apparently it wasn't, even at the end of the season, it wasn't getting dramatically better. But he's an elite defender. And then you got Rinkmass, the transfer from Bradley, and Bryce Williams. I don't know who your point guard is. It's not Casey. Casey's not a point guard.
I know. I said last hour that it'd be interesting to throw him in there, but
I think at this point it's Ramel Lloyd. But I don't anticipate. I mean, if McCollum commits, I think it's McCollum.
Yeah.
And then the package deal is also possible. It's possible that you could have a few more guys leave. It's not necessary. It's definitely not over for the portal as far as the football team is concerned, and it may not be over for the basketball team either.
Well, and that said, there's speculation that Nebraska's going after a 7-footer that left LSU. So if they are, that's one possibility. You've also got McCollum, Latrell Wrightsell, and Hunter Salas that you're genuinely going after, that you're saying we are going to make a spot for you. And the big question is, that's too many scholarships.
Yeah.
So who is going to be the one, the odd man or the odd two men out of the situation, depending on how many more people that we pick up out of the portal?
I think somebody else might leave. I just think that one more person might leave. I mean, don't forget, you've got, still McPherson's there. Eli Rice just committed, the high school kid who they really like. I mean, he might fit into this rotation somewhere. But what do you do with the CJ Wilcher, who's been a little up and down in his career? Started to play more up than down at the end. Breidenbach has had some injuries. So what's Wilhelm thinking? Does he think he can get dramatically better and be a Big Ten 4 and 5? What's Nebraska think about those two guys? So, and McPherson's another one. It's just because he hasn't played much.
Yeah.
So you don't know what you're going to get because he's been injured and he hasn't played much.
Yeah.
So I just think these questions, I don't think they're done either with the portal, guys leaving and guys coming in.
Yep.
I think that both will happen for Nebraska. Definitely guys coming in for sure, because they have two more scholarships to fill, so they'll fill them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You want to jump to a quick early break and get to BC soon?
Early break is on in the morning. It's
By the
Sip
way.
and Jake. Sip and Jake do early break. But we could go to an earlier break. For sure.
More time with BC is never bad.
That's never a bad thing. Brian Christopherson maybe could answer a few of these questions for us about Husker hoops because he writes about it every single day and he talks to the recruits. So that would be good to get somebody on that does that. Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7, is coming up next.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club or space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? No, forget that. How about a margarita club? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge and join the best club in town. 10 flavors of margaritas like Maui Wowie, burnt pineapple, and mango tango. Try all 10 of them and receive your own souvenir margarita glass. Make it your new Monday night tradition. $4 margaritas and $4 taco basket. Grab the crew and head on over. Monday nights or any night. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
The Ticket Water Cooler.
I know Matt Rule's talked about surrounding himself with the top people in the industry. Garrett McGuire, a big talking point today. I'm just interested in that quote altogether, saying that it's our own people that are kind of creating a recruiting narrative. That might be us.
Look, it's a lot. Look.
It's
every look. It's not just us. It's everybody. Yeah. Everybody was very critical of the hire. He was working with NFL guys at 21, 22 years old. And he's working with college guys at 23 years old. So he's going to be able to relate to these guys on a level that none of the other coaches can.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $24.11 per hour, which grows to $28.27 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $32.76 per hour with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is now open in Lincoln. Shop our expansive collection of wine, beer, spirits, and cigars at 5040 North 27th Street. From top-shelf liquor to crowd-favorite beer, Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits has a beverage for every taste and every budget. Plus, join our loyalty program to earn rewards and save on future purchases. Shop Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits at 5040 North 27th Street in Lincoln. That's 5040 North 27th Street.
Are you looking for a solid, stable career in assembly, CNC machining, or injection molding? We got you covered. Hi, Bob Williams, HR Director for Garner Industries, a world-class manufacturer with a 70-year history right here in Lincoln. And I just listed some great career opportunities that you can find by logging into GarnerIndustries.com. If you want top pay, excellent benefits, flexible work hours, and the opportunity to work in a clean, modern, air-conditioned facility with great people, contact me today by applying online at GarnerIndustries.com.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
Hi, everyone. Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. Spring is here. Summer is fast approaching. With weddings, vacations, and weekend getaways on your mind, do not let car issues prevent you from getting where you need to be. Car problems shouldn't be something that you put up with. Let us get you back on the road in comfort and safety. We diagnose all makes and models from Porsches to Hondas, Toyotas, and Chevrolets. We fix a variety of issues with all of them with our talented techs and our experienced staff. A1 Automotive at 11th and L, downtown Lincoln, always honest answers.
There's nothing quite like the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese beef. The Mercado offers unique ingredients you can't find anywhere else, open every day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The full-service butcher shop and retail store is wonderful for meat lovers with their exclusive Certified Piedmontese beef and assorted sausages, plus other quality meats, including pork, chicken, and a wide range of the freshest seafood. Plus, every Friday from 11 to 2, the Mercado serves up the best lunch in town on their Friday Feast menu. Stop in at the Mercado today at 84th and Havelock or visit their website at cpmercado.com to see current deals.
More of the Sunday Rewind is coming your way next.
60% of the time, it works every time.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, segment 2. Mike Melby there. Tom Stevens here. You mentioned a nice weekend for Fred Hoiberg in recruiting. He picks up a couple of commits. Frank Mass, the transfer from Bradley, 6'9", 240, a center. And Bryce Williams, a transfer from Charlotte, 6'7", 215. I ask Mike this question. The bigger commit of those two, BC, what do you think?
I guess if you make me choose, I'll say Rink Mass. I feel like the void left by Derek Walker is a substantial one, and we'll see how much of it he can fill. But he has some of those capabilities. He's got that 6'9" frame. I think he can facilitate the ball some. Maybe not to the same level Walker did, but I think he's got a better outside shot maybe than Derek Walker. He shot 35% from behind the arc. So when you combine like just the rebounding prowess he had, his ability to score from outside, and also I like that. Last year Fred Hoiberg and this staff seemed like they sort of came up with a template, like, let's find some seasoned guys who have also been around winning. And you saw that with Sam and Emmanuel and Jawan Gary. They all came from programs where they'd won in their leagues and they'd been in the NCAA tournament and things of that nature. Rink Mass is coming off a very good season where his team won the Mo Valley regular season title at Bradley. And he's won a lot of games. Bryce Williams has won his share too at Charlotte and was a CBI tournament MVP. But I like Rink Mass, I guess, to the answer to that question. But I think both check some boxes that are necessary and probably take away some of the angst maybe some people had even a week ago at this time.
BC, I want to ask you about Nick Janowski. Commits to Nebraska this last week as well on Friday. 24/7 Sports has got him rated as the number 80 overall commit in next year's class. What are your thoughts on shooting guard Nick Janowski?
Well, another guy's a winner. It's 3-time state champion and scored more than 1,300 points in high school. And if you look at what if you watch his film, he just does a little bit of everything pretty well, And so he's one of those guys where, you need some assists, he can get you some of those. He can go rebound for you, and he definitely can score. Just kind of one of those guys that, players nowadays, they say he's a dog. I think he's kind of got some of that in his game. He just goes about his business and is all about basketball. I know we tried to even reach out for him during the process for interviews, and he was very polite, but he was just like, that's not really going to be my thing. Like, I'm not going to be that guy who's all trumpeting everything I do, every visit I make, all this stuff. Hopefully you can respect that, but he wasn't going to really partake in that a lot. And I do respect that. I mean, he's just one of those guys who I think he just wants to play ball, and he does it pretty well. He had a teammate who was also a big-time recruit. And so, that 1-2 punch was pretty dynamic. But again, I like them going after guys who, when they step on the floor, they're used to being on the winning side. Like, I do think there's something to be said for that. Like, you find these guys who they win championships at whatever level, whether it's in college, whether it's in their conference, or whether it's even in high school. But they have an expectation that even if there's a stretch where the other team goes on a run or whatever, they're used to being on the successful end of things. And so he's another one of those guys who I think will kind of have that mindset.
Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7, our guest, talking a little Husker basketball recruiting for once. Brady Dunlap, I believe, was once committed to Notre Dame. Then Mike Bray was resigning. So he was here this weekend. I know North Carolina is in the mix for him. But Nebraska needs a point guard, it looks like. They filled their big man spot Where should they go? Where do you expect them to go from here?
Well, there's a few possibilities out there. Latrell Wrightsell Jr. is a guy who can play, I think, both guard spots. Javian McCollum from Siena is a guy who's been on the visit calendar list, who's an interesting prospect. Those are two guys that come to mind. You mentioned Brady Dunlap. He's a 23 recruit, so he would get going right away if he committed to Nebraska. He had been with Notre Dame, but obviously they moved on from Mike Bray, and so Dunlap moved on from them. But if you look at the top 5 schools he has on his list, Nebraska's with some big dogs there. So this he's a player out of California. And I think it's important for us, since you brought his name up, I just think sometimes I can get distracted, I know, by the shiny object that what's in the portal over here, over there. We're talking about, there's all these portal guys with they've been contacted by 20 teams, and you're kind of just inundated with that. It still matters to find those prep guys who, can come in as freshmen and you can develop, and they can ideally be 4-year guys in your program, 3 or 4-year guys. And he's a guy that you definitely don't pass on, because he's got sort of a skill set like Janowski where he can do a little bit of everything. And there's a reason why so many good programs are after him. Now, the thing that gives Nebraska a fighting shot here is Hoiberg was in on him from the jump. I mean, they really got after him early on in the process. So that's a relationship that's been built up over some time. And Nebraska, I do think, has some momentum right now. I think the fact that they were able to, maybe it might not seem like much to some people, but even going 16-16 last season and sort of nudging that thing forward. And now you can say, okay, we made this step last year. Now we're ready to make the next step, and you can help us do it. And you know that if you come here, it's going to be a place that'll treat you like rock stars if you get this thing flying. I mean, it'll be special. So I think the last season probably has helped them with their recruiting pitch, as whether it's a portal guy or a guy out of high school.
Brian Christopherson from 24/7 Sports joining us here on the Husker Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket. BC, I'm going to throw out a couple of names you already mentioned, but are Hunter Salas and Latrell Wrightsell Jr. a package deal? Do you think the two of them wind up at Nebraska? Thoughts on Javian McCollum and Brady Dunlap? Do you think they wind up at Nebraska? Do you think Nebraska is going to go after another big? I need some predictions on the 4, and do you think they're going to go after another big?
Yeah, there's a lot there.
I know.
I don't know if they're a package deal. I mean, I know 24/7 Sports did a story where we talked to Wrightsell a couple weeks ago, and he had a quote that I think a lot of people are kind of hanging on, and we put it out there about how one of the things that the coaches, Latrell said they said to him was, you guys could be a possible combo deal and a big part of our backcourt. I don't know where that stands, but I do think Nebraska's got a real fighting shot for both of them. Now, at some point, you can run out of spaces if we said all of these guys are signing up. Now, the other part of this is, at this moment, there are 2 current spaces open. But that doesn't mean that couldn't change. This is all fluid. There could be somebody else who leaves, and that opens up another opportunity, another scholarship where you can even add three or four by the time this is over. I sort of think they are going to get one of the in-state guys. With Wrightsell, he's down between Nebraska, Minnesota, and Alabama, last I know. I know that can change sometimes, but I think he had a very good visit from what I've gathered. And I think he wants to decide pretty soon too. So, we'll see if there's some movement on that, even this week. And then you've got Hunter Salas coming in for the spring game. And all I can tell you on that, Mike, is that I know that Nebraska, when Fred Hoiberg and Nate Lenzer went out there, I think they had a very good visit with Hunter, and at least set the table for that to be a possibility. And besides Hunter Salas's game, like on the defensive end, he reminds me a little of Emmanuel Bandamel because he's kind of bouncy, and I think his length could be really disruptive there. But I think the one thing Nebraska's staff can sell to him is he's also got sort of that build and stuff that reminds a little bit of like a Bryce McGowan. And even though Nebraska didn't have a very good team season when Bryce was here, Bryce was a personal success story. I mean, he got, to the NBA off of that one year, and was like a 7 or 8 time Big Ten Freshman of the Week, over and over again. So I think you can use an example like that about how they can lift his offensive game and also how he can accelerate on defense with what he's already done. And it can be pretty attractive to come back home. So I don't know if they're going to get them both. I would feel a little leaving myself out there to just make some bold thing that they're both going to end up at Nebraska. But I kind of, if you said if is at least one of those guys going to be here, I sort of expect that to happen. So we'll see. And I think McCollum is a real interesting guy from Siena, the point guard. I don't think people should sleep on him either.
I really like his game a lot, and he feels like a more true point guard. It's interesting to me, Latrell Whitesell was not as big a star as certainly Hunter Salas was in high school. And now he's got a Creighton offer. I don't think Salas does. It feels almost like to me, and you mentioned he's visiting Alabama, like Whitesell's become the bigger recruit than Salas. Am I reading that wrong?
You might be right. I mean, Latrell had a nice little run at Cal State Fullerton. You look at his numbers, I mean, he could score it, and, that he can play both guard spots, so there's versatility there. And, he's one of those guys that I think if Alabama's interested in him, I mean, that's a program that's coming off. I know they had the off-the-court stuff, but they were really good on the floor, and we're the top team in the country for most of the season. So that tells you something. And so, I think you could almost use them to answer that question. I think he probably is getting at least as much attention as Hunter Salas. But let's not forget, I mean, Hunter was basically a 5-star recruit, and no, his offensive game did not take off at Gonzaga, but that's a loaded program, and he got a good experience of great coaching and playing for one of those programs that's really recognized now is on a big stage. And sometimes a guy like that can take that learning experience and he goes somewhere for that next stop, and then it all starts to come together. And so Hunter Salas, the thing I would say about him is maybe he hasn't hit it yet, but his ceiling would be as high as anybody we're talking about here. It's just a matter of how high can he go with that.
A little football talk. I'm guessing you were there on Saturday. What'd you see and then hear from Matt Rule?
I thought he was wired. I thought he was fired up. He just come off the field with the scrimmage. I thought it was the most interesting session he's had with the media, Tom.
Oh, I agree. That was wild.
I just thought the story he told at the end, I thought had to be like chicken soup to Husker fans, where the defense won the day. And that's a good thing, I think, because the defense kind of had a tough go of it the last scrimmage. So I think you kind of like when they're playing a little bit of volleyball over there and one side wins and then the other side wins. But the defense wins the day, and then you're doing one final sort of down and distance situation inside the 10-yard line to sort of settle the score. And the defense gets a stop, but a guy gets a penalty, kind of a dumb penalty, it sounded like. And so there's an untimed down, and then the offense scores. And Rule, I just thought the story of him telling the offense, run off the field if you score. And the defense, has to stand there and take that in, like you've won this day. But it made me think of like Husker football the last 5 years. Like, yeah, they've been around the bin from good stuff, but somehow there is that play or there is that dumb penalty that cost them, and you take a 2016 possible win and it's a 23-20 loss. And I just think it's huge that you're really emphasizing that in such a manner where one side of the ball is feeling good about itself for most of the day, and yet, at the end, the other side kind of gets to have that moment of joy, and you got to take it in. I just like that. I also like the fact, I think he's picked up on something around here. I feel like with Husker sports, we become a little bit too much like, oh, look at this, there's a sellout crowd here or whatever. And then, the basketball team loses by 10 points or whatever. They went 3-9, but man, that was a good 3-9. They could have beat Michigan. They could have beat Ohio State. They could have beat Michigan State. And if you've noticed, he's really pushed back on that. He's not going to sit on that couch and say, well, that's a good 4-8. There isn't a good 4-8. And you got to get it in people's minds that doesn't exist, that you win or you lose. And you can't be he had that quote about, you don't want to be the program that, you're always losing, but you're thanking the fans for coming out, Yeah. And I would say, I think that's kind of become and it's not really the fans' fault. It's just, you want to talk about something positive. You don't want to beat people down all the time. But I do think that's kind of been a surrounding theme with Husker sports. And I think it's really important that Husker football starts pushing back against that. And we get back to did they win? Did you win? And that's what they're here for. So I thought he hit on that theme pretty hard during that talk. And he likes where they're at, though. I think he feels like it's a team that had good enough coaching before that they can be a good situational team and has some potential, but they got to just iron some things out.
Brian Christopherson of 24/7 Sports joining us here on Husker Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket. Every once in a while, Coach Rule makes a comment like losing and thanking the fans. Kind of a shot at Scott Frost in my mind. And then earlier on Saturday, it's portal is open day. Everybody knows where to find Neon Dion. Prime time's here. He tweets it out. And then in the press conference after the scrimmage, Coach Rule's like, I don't care about the portal. I care about my guys that I have here. I want to coach them. Seems like a shot at Dion. The comments about we're not going to have a spring game that's going to be, a show. Yeah. We want a game. We want to give our fans their money's worth. We need to see what we have, et cetera. It's all nice, friendly, subtle jabs, but do you think they're jabs, or is he just kind of talking, and if somebody takes offense, it is what it is?
Oh, there might be a little jabbing there. I don't know if the first one's really at Frost or not. I think he's tried to distance himself from that. I think he's picked up on some things with maybe Husker athletics in general. Even I could give you an example. With women's basketball, it was there was a huge deal made about that sellout, when they played Iowa, and Caitlin Clark came in, and that was cool, but Iowa won by 20 points, and that it's sort of, it's that sort of stuff, where Nebraska's, I think, in multiple avenues been sort of, it's like, this is such a great fan base. We're excited that people are coming out and stuff like that. But what's the result on the court? Are you getting it done? Stuff like that. So I think there's probably a few examples there. I like the fact, though, that I think the spring game is going to be some 1v1 action. And I like the fact that even on Thursday before the Saturday scrimmage, that's, as he said, often a waste day because they have to have 3 practices every spring where it's helmets only. So a lot of guys use that Thursday practice as one where your helmets only. Maybe you don't get as much done because you're kind of getting ready for the spring game and whatever you're going to put on display there. But he wants to make that really situational and I think get a lot out of it that where you're not wasting 90 minutes. And I like the point he drove home, and I think they're going to drive it to those guys all week long. Like, hey, when we go out there Saturday, if we're out there for 2 hours, this is 2 hours of important practice time. Like, let's not get caught up in all this and that. And if there's cameras on it, I mean, this is a practice, and let's get the most out of our 15th spring practice so that we're not wasting any of these opportunities we have to step on the field. So I think that's a good thing to get in your guys' heads. I did think the portal thing probably was connected to Dion a little bit, yes. But I also think that's a message within that quote to the guys who are on this roster now and your recruits that's saying, hey, you're special to me. These type of teams are special, the first-year squads, because they're the guys who are believing in us before we've even shown we can do it here. Like we don't have the evidence yet, and yet you're following along and you want to be part of it. And so I think he, within that 17 minutes or whatever it was on Saturday, I thought it was interesting for about 80 to 90% of what he said was stuff that was kind of intriguing and you could really dissect.
BC, we've said this for a long time. Nebraska lacks identity, and it didn't feel like under the Scott Frost era, like there was a real attempt to define the identity. Do you feel like in the case of Matt Rule, he's defined the identity and you could see what he wants to be?
I think the best I can say is just a tough, aggressive team that's going to take some chances. But even the part where he said, in the fourth quarter, like he has a specific stat in his mind, like we want at least 75 rushing yards. And, because he's thinking like, if you have like 75 rushing yards or more in the fourth quarter, that means you're the type of team that you're probably having that like 6 or 7 minute drive where you're leaning on somebody, and it's going to help your defense maybe pitch a shutout in that last quarter. And so I think you're getting like through little tidbits like that, an example of this is going to be a team I think that's going to have a heavy run presence, and I think it's going to have a pretty heavy QB run presence. Yeah. And that was something back in December. I didn't know what they thought about the QB run game for sure, but I really picked up on now, like, yeah, that's a big deal. And I think that's why a guy like Jeff Sims is pretty valuable, because if he's going to run it around a decent amount, you like the fact that he's 6'4", 220, and can maybe hold up. And I think that's why Heinrich Harburg is sort of busted on the scene a little bit. Like he's got some of those traits in the run game and that size that could make him a weapon there. So I don't take some of that stuff lightly, like the Harburg storyline. I think he's like in the fight, and there's guys that we've sort of slept on or maybe haven't thought about as much with the old staff, but with this staff, they've got new life and you got to pay attention to them.
BC, before we let you go, I want to ask you, what is the one single thing that you are most looking forward to watching in the spring game? Is it a position group? Is it the style of play? Is there one player? What's
Frank
the
is
one
coming
thing?
back.
Well, other
That's
than,
right.
so Frank coming back, obviously, but I'm talking about during the game.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go right to the trenches. If we're going to get 1v1s, like, I think you want to see, like, who on that defensive front, like who amongst some of those defensive newcomers too, where you're talking like your MJ Shermans, your Chief Borders, Nash Hutmacher's not a new guy, but he's gotten some run this spring. Like, what do they look like going against the top dogs? Like, who amongst those newcomers sort of just flashes where you're like, okay, that's legit, like that's a guy who's going to be a frontline player. So I think that part alone, we could name off 6 or 7 newcomers, and who amongst them sort of rises to the surface on that day, I think is probably really interesting. Obviously, you could say Jeff Sims, but I think the battle between the O-line and the D-line, and I hope we do get a good amount of good on good. I know the one thing they're going to run into that is a little bit of a problem is they're a little banged up right now up front, and they're waiting for those other freshmen to arrive in the summer that give them more bodies on the O-line. So they might have to do a little bit of a tightrope act up front in this particular scrimmage. But I do think we're going to see some of the top guys collide. So who can hold up and who's got the goods? I mean, that's probably where my eye is going to go right to.
Hey, BC, great stuff as always. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yep, you bet.
Thanks, BC.
Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7, writes about recruiting, written a lot of good stuff about Husker hoops. Very excited about that. But the spring game should be fun. I haven't actually decided if I'm going. I mean, it's on TV, right?
I was going to go to Knoxville and watch the World of Outlaws over there, but the temps are Cloudy, 53, and a 25-mile-an-hour wind.
Oh, is that the forecast for Saturday?
For Friday and Saturday in Knoxville,
Oh,
Iowa.
okay.
So I'm not going to Knoxville, so I actually may wind up going to the spring
What's the forecast for the spring game? Have you seen it?
I haven't looked. We'll
because yesterday was crappy. It's been crappy, and I tried to play golf today. It was well over 17,000 miles an hour.
I believe it was 53 intervals of sunshine and clouds, winds out of the northwest, 15 to 25 miles an hour. So next Saturday is not exactly going to be warm.
All right. So if you're going, it's not exactly going to be warm, but it'll be a game, and we'll get to see it. Mike Melby there, Tom Stevens here. Our final segment of Husker Rewind is coming up next.
Experience the Landmark difference with the next level of dealer support. Landmark, your local John Deere dealer, continually works to have parts on hand the first time you walk in the door. Our internal route system means we can get the parts to you typically same or next day to keep you up and running. At Landmark, we understand time is money. Get more uptime with our after-hours parts and service support on the phone or in the field. Our sales, precision ag, parts, and service teams are ready to serve you this planting season. Stop by your local Landmark today to experience the Landmark difference.
Babe, pack your bags. We're going to Vegas.
Vegas?
We just got the estimate from the wedding caterer, and we're going to have to elope.
Actually, Members Owned Credit Union is offering no-fee home equity lines of credit. We can borrow what we need with equity from the house.
Wait, so we can keep the bacon wrap dates for the cocktail hour?
We can keep the bacon wrap dates. From wedding bells to trekking the globe and everything in between, capture your dreams your way with a no-fee Members Owned Credit Union home equity line of credit. Learn more at membersownedheloc.org. Limitations may apply. Equal housing lender.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric brings exciting career opportunities for you or someone you know. They are now hiring plumbers, electricians, and HVAC techs and installers to continually build their professional team. They offer competitive pay and full benefits packages that include health, dental, vision, PTO, and 401k options. Action has created a positive team environment for over 50 years. Apply online at actionlincoln.com.
Constructors is now hiring for all positions, with laborers starting at $20 and up based on experience. Constructors has immediate job openings for laborers, mechanics, bridge builders, operators, and drivers. Start your new career today. Constructors offers great pay, health, dental, and vision insurance, paid time off, paid holidays, and so much more. Join the crew today and be a part of Nebraska's oldest paving company dating back to 1908. For a complete list of openings and to apply online, visit constructorslincoln.com. It's April, and that means the school year is almost over and summer road trips are on the horizon. Stop telling yourself you'll upgrade your car someday and do it now. Mullen Motors lot is full of great vehicles to take home, so you don't have to worry about your current car barely surviving another road trip. Come check out their lot just north of 48th and Layton and find your next ride, as summer road trips are just around the corner. Mullen Motors.
No taglines, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
Hey there.
Hi, honey.
Uh-oh.
Remember we told Jamie and Mike about Liberty First Credit Union, how great their checking account and car loans are, the amazing service we get, and how we love being members?
Yeah.
Well, they took our advice. Jamie said how easy it was to move all their accounts and become members. Now they say they're banking with purpose at Liberty First Credit Union.
Learn more about being a member at libertyfirstcu.com. Liberty First Credit Union. Banking with purpose. Member NCUA.
You don't think about your roof very often, but you should never take it for granted. Roofing Service Company takes every measure to provide you with the highest quality roofing solution. Whether it's a new roof installation, roof repair, or a re-roofing project, their overall goal is to provide you with a pleasant experience and a long-lasting roof. If you have a need for siding or gutters, they're your place too. Visit roofingservicecompany.com for more info today.
You've driven by GE Landscape Supply countless times, likely without even knowing, at 6701 Cornhusker Highway. But now it's time to stop in. GE Landscape Supply sells to homeowners and contractors with a vast selection of landscaping and construction material. They sell in bulk to save you money, buying anything from a 5-gallon bucket to a semi-load. They deliver anywhere, and if you mention you heard this ad on 93.7 The Ticket, they'll deliver in town for free through the month of April, with some restrictions applying. Go to GELandscapesupply.com for more info or call 402-467-1627.
Hey there.
Hi, honey.
Uh-oh.
Remember we told Jamie and Mike about Liberty First Credit Union, how great their checking account and car loans are, the amazing service we get, and how we love being members?
Yeah.
Well, they took our advice. Jamie said how easy it was to move all their accounts and become members. Now they say they're banking with purpose at Liberty First Credit Union.
Learn more about being a member at libertyfirstcu.com. Liberty First Credit Union. Banking with purpose. Member NCUA.
Back to the Sunday Rewind with Tom and Mike.
That's old school.
Yeah?
No school like the old school.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to the Husker Rewind here on 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com. Also on Allo Channel 951 and the live stream on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. I'm Mike Melby. That is Tom Stevens.
Hello.
A couple minutes left here in the show. And 10 years ago, a young man by the name of Jack Hoffman during the Nebraska spring game took a handoff from Taylor Martinez, and he went 69 yards for a score. One of the biggest plays in the history of Nebraska football. It won the best play of the year, I believe.
It won an ESPY.
An ESPY award that year. Where were you when Jack Hoffman made the run?
I was in the stadium. I think it was in the box. My brother-in-law has a box, and sometimes they invite me up, and I just happen to be there. So I actually regret that I wasn't in my normal seat, experiencing it with the fans, because I was kind of up in the box. But I thought, this is you could see what they were doing when he ran out of the field. This is a little corny, and then because I didn't know the backstory yet, I didn't know the Jack Hoffman backstory as well. I guess it had already been out. And Rex Burkhead had been attached to Jack Hoffman.
Yep.
But I guess there were some people that were unsure. Then you hear the name Jack Hoffman, and he was actually a kid that didn't want to do it. His dad had to convince him. His dad, Andy, and I think his uncle as well, had to convince him to do it. He's just deathly shy. He doesn't like being around people that he doesn't know. And so on the way to the stadium, they were explaining it, and he was getting really nervous. And he gets the handoff, and he gets in the flow, and he starts to pass linemen, and he could go, and he hits the goal line. He goes all the way to the fence. He doesn't stop. I think that was part of the instruction from Dad. He just run all the way to the fence, and I can't remember who picked him up, but several players did. They said it was very spontaneous to just pick him up, and that thing wins an ESPY. It leads ESPN that night. Yep. And just blows up. They show it for weeks. Wins an ESPY, visits President Obama in the White House. Yeah. And he said he really didn't have an understanding of what was going on there, and raised millions for brain cancer. Yeah, for the Team Jack Foundation for brain cancer research. And so he's become famous. But then a sad thing happens. His dad passes away in 2021 of brain cancer. And you read the story, and I think it was Amy Just that wrote it today. Really well written. At one time, Andy's thinking, I gave my son brain. He wasn't thinking about his own. He gave my son brain cancer. Turned out to be, it was not him that gave Jack brain cancer. They were unrelated. It was just a freak thing that Andy also got brain cancer, but Andy passes away from brain cancer, and he was really fit. He used to run marathons. So he was a very fit guy, lawyer, ran the Team Jack Foundation. And now Jack, so that was in 2013. He's 17 years old, thinking about going to law school. And he's in the article, like 23 meds a day. Yeah. Trying to deal with this horrible disease. But he's done a big part. He and Rex Burkhead and others have helped really do some damage in that a lot of people weren't knowledgeable about pediatric brain cancer. And it's become more and more that way. Not just Jack, but foundations like him have helped give a lot of money. And I think they've given $9 million through Team Jack, which is incredible.
It's interesting, too, because there's a lot of athletes and racers that I see that have got Team Jack. Like it's a sponsorship. They'll have a logo for the Team Jack Foundation on the side of a car. And it's just fantastic because they're all trying to pitch in and help out and do the best that they can to help fight pediatric brain cancer.
Yep.
So
it was a great moment. the helmet too big.
Yeah.
The shoulder pads didn't necessarily, the gear wasn't on necessarily perfect. He's just a little tiny kid, but it was very impromptu. One of the great decisions that Bo Pelini made off the field. He made some good decisions on the field. He wasn't known for his promotional work, but that one really, that was brilliant. It was one of the best plays in college football for Nebraska, certainly, since national titles.
Yeah.
We got to leave.
Yeah, we do.
We'll be here next week. Mike Melby, Tom Stevens. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
See you.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper.